Hi guys, it's the Grumpy Grognard Gamers here. I'm Al and Matt. Say hello,
Hello.
Matt. We're doing this very quick response video to a load of rumours that have just appeared on that bastion of all things true, Reddit.
No, it's not. Originally, it's 4chan.
Or is this 4chan?
Yeah, that's why it's got the green text and all the funny colours.
See? We've got an expert with us. I've never been on 4chan in my entire life. I don't even know what it looks like.
Please don't lump me in with people who know a lot about 4chan.
Check his hard drive. Okay, so this has all come
My
from
hard drive is
4chan,
fine.
which apparently is a thing. Honestly, I didn't think 4chan even existed anymore. I thought that was like, honestly, I thought that was gone.
It went in the bin, but then some alternative kind of like, not proxies, kind of like a mirror sort of things sprung up. So you can still go to traditional gaming and look at like all the board game and RPG stuff and things like that, and it's perfectly fine. It's just a lot of basically, if you've ever played Battlefield or Call of Duty and you've been in a lobby, you can expect that kind of language because it's all anonymous.
Such joy, such joy. Anyway, a load of rumours have dropped, and it's a shed load of stuff. It's fairly plausible, a lot of it, and some of it indeed is also what Matt and I have been talking about, and some of the things that I've heard as well. On top of that, there has been some visual evidence, which we'll talk about. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through them quickly, give our opinions, our sort of take on the rumours as we go down through the list. First rumour is, this is all by an anonymous person, so who knows? But all resin is
like
being,
I said, 4chan.
Yeah,
they're all add-ons.
All resin is being phased out by 2025 to comply with new government rulings on non-recyclable plastic to avoid bigger tax charges. So that's your first rumour. Obviously, we have seen some scaling down of Forge World. We have seen it disappear, and I have had a look at this government initiative, and there is something that's been delayed till 2025, but from what I can see, it mainly affects packaging. But whereas it might affect packaging for most companies, it may well apply to GW, whose primarily manufacturing is based around resin and plastic. And obviously they did launch that recycling initiative with the plastic sprues out of nowhere. So maybe, but I can't see them getting rid of all resin, Matt, because
like,
start making Titans in plastic.
No, you can't do Thunderhawks and Titans in plastic because the cost to transfer it over to steel molds would be absolutely mental for the amount that they won't sell. Yeah, they're niche products that people with a lot of money, or enough money, should I say, like to have because they can, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I've not looked at the Imperial Armor stuff for 10th, but basically from 8th onwards, they pretty much priced Titans out of the game. They literally doubled their cost in points.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point that kind of thing is a centerpiece model.
Yeah. I mean, they're still good for Heresy, where everything is still sensible to a point. Like cost wise is sensible, not necessarily the set in itself. But yeah, like the Forge World can't go binning off all resin stuff because they'll effectively just end that division because it's what they do. So I reckon they'll just scale it back a lot.
I can't see them stopping the sale of Titans. I mean, I could see the Titans having a cost increase to account for the tax. And
I'm not sure they can get away with that.
Because at the end of the day, if somebody's paying 1,500 quid for a Warlord, they'll pay 1,600 quid for a Warlord.
Possibly. I mean, you've worked with resin. Like you've got a rough idea of how much that shit costs. Like, I would like to think that the current amount that they're charging for Titans is easily enough to swallow any additional tax that they may get charged for actually producing the thing.
They're making a fuck ton on it, but don't get me wrong, they are very expensive to produce.
Really?
That Titan, those Titans, I reckon, probably cost around about £100 to produce each. Like raw material costs. Just the resin.
That's a significant.
It's a significant markup, but then
it's like 90%.
You've then got to break down into how many molds is it, how long does it take somebody to cast it, how many failures will they get. So like all GW products, it's going to be a massive markup. I think their average markup is about 45%. Plastic
it must
models.
Be because the staff discount was like 50%. So they've still got to make
plastic. They've still got to make some 50%. Profit. It's not 50% on resin. I can tell you that.
No, I think it was 25. I think
20 or 25% on Forge World. But nonetheless, they make a make a good price, but because it's not mass manufactured, because it's more of an artisanal thing, the markup isn't quite the same. Like you say, I can't see them completely get rid of resin. One thing, it's not feasible to make these Titans in plastic at all. Two, there will always be a elite luxury advanced element to resin models that I don't think GW will want to lose. It may not be part of their main game plan, where, as we will discuss later, they're looking to introduce people on a very introductory basic level, but they'll always want that elite upper luxury premium line.
The advanced bit.
So yeah, I could totally see them getting rid of a load of things like infantry, a lot of special characters, most of the tanks, but the big super heavies and stuff, and the Titans and you know, like bigger knights like the Porphyrion, I totally see those staying in resin. But yeah, so I give that one a partial, if I'm being completely honest. All resin being phased out? No. I mean, for a start, they have just announced a load of new models in resin. They still continue to announce new models in resin to this day.
And
they wouldn't be putting that.
Games. Yeah, the Games Workshop works several years in advance when they're producing stuff or planning things, at least. So they will have known about this 2005 initiative. There's no way they'd still be putting stuff out in resin now if they knew it was all going in a year's
time. So this 2025 initiative that they're talking about was initially due to happen in 2024, this year. So, as you say, they've known about it for a good few years. So while I can see Forge World absolutely being scaled down, I don't see this effectively doing any more than what we've already seen. You know, the Forge World name is gone pretty much. It's just advanced kits now, and I continue to see that happening and just being the same. I can't see them ditching resin. As you said, they can't do it with Titans unless they're just going to make Titans sort of unavailable, which I find very unlikely. So yeah, that one I'm dubious, but I think there are elements of truth in it. Next one, Beasts of Chaos are being moved out to balance the old world and have more variety to avoid another Horus heresy where players still scream for Eldar or Orcs to this day. They were planned for an Age of Sigmar revamp at the beginning of 3rd edition, including Kragnos, which makes sense, being the centerpiece, which was obviously scrapped. Instead, it's this, so they get a new the old world range without having to design one. Yeah, this sounds legit to me, to be honest. The Beasts of Chaos were an old range, one of the later ranges for Warhammer Fantasy, if I remember correctly. They got a load of stuff like the Minotaurs and bits like that. But next to the Age of Sigmar models, they're never going to look right. And without them redoing the entire range, they're never going to fit in Age of Sigmar. So I can totally see this being correct, if I'm being completely honest. You chuck them over to the old world, giving you another kind of evil race, which is what they also did with the Tomb Kings of Khemri, because they were never originally like a bad guy race. They shifted them across to do that. So that one, yeah, I think that's an easy win for the old world to give it a boost. And yeah, I can totally see that being correct. What do you think?
Yeah, what you said. I'm not familiar with any of those factions, so I'm just like, yep.
Okay, cool. Next. Kislev was scrapped because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. They are already in GW's Book of Grudges for their recast fiefdoms. The timing was felt to be in poor taste. They aren't scrapped forever, just shelved until that dies down. Cafe is not happening. Araby might be. Yeah, I mean, no time soon. That unfortunately is going to be something that just rages on until Putin either eventually decides to give up and announce that he's got a victory in the amount of the Ukraine that he has managed to take.
Or someone deletes him.
or someone just does deletes him. Send the SAS in. But yeah, that sounds very plausible to me. You're not going to want a load of Russianish themed characters running around with that kind of thing. GW will just want to avoid that completely. And we knew they were doing Kislev because they showed us all of the work in progress stuff for that. They showed us that they were developing it. So I think that is completely plausible. When it comes to Cafe and the Araby, with GW, I get the feeling that they're going for this kind of homogenized world rather than distinct ethnic areas. And it wouldn't surprise me if when we see the Empire, we see a lot more variety in the skin color, in the ethnicities and types of people in the Empire. And from that perspective, I can see that happening rather than them focusing on the different ranges and being accused of things like stereotypes, cultural appropriation, or any of that bollocks. I think GW is very sensitive to that. They're probably quite worried about being cancelled or whatever. They won't want to put anything out there at all.
They don't want to get cottrelled.
Yeah, they just don't want any controversy. There's big shareholders at the end of the day. They're a big company. They just won't want the bad press. Period. They just won't want the bad press. They're going to be. You need to think of GW like a kind of the wargaming or model equivalent of something like Disney when it comes to animation. They're up there. They're the ones that are going to be in the headlines. They're the ones that are going to be exposed. And if a scandal does kick off with them, it's national news. Whereas if a scandal kicks off with War Cradle or something like that, who are doing well in their own right, but if a scandal kicks off with War Cradle, it might make a couple of Facebook groups. It won't go BBC. If something happens with GW that's big enough, it'll go quite wide. So I can totally see that. I want to avoid any controversy at all, and I imagine there's a lot of turmoil within as they try and work out what they want to do, and things are getting shelved all over the place. Next one. Warcry is getting a revamp in a new 3rd edition. It is closer to Mordheim or Necromunda in rules, and it's basically an Age of Sigmar till team, and the whole cults in the 8 points idea is being retired. Starter box is Cities of Sigmar versus Skaven.
You know what I'm going to do in it? I'm going to point back to the previous point, and I'm going to quickly say, not entirely sure about Cafe not happening, because the entire Cafe faction for Total War Warhammer 3 was co-designed with Games Workshop with models in mind. I believe I read from an interview with Creative Assembly. So I can't see them not getting done. I think there's probably too much time and effort and potential profit there for them to just go, yeah, we're not going to bother with this entire faction. Like, we'll just bin them off. So I reckon
Cafe would be Chinese type thing?
Yep.
Or Orient, basically. Yeah. Right, okay. Yep.
So, I mean, you could probably mix some other races in with that. I mean, like, I'm not sure. My old world geographical knowledge is pretty ropey. I've not actually played Total War Warhammer for quite a while.
It's more or less the old world is more or less our world.
Yeah, but I'd imagine that there's some other.
Different. Like the Empire is all Germany.
Yeah.
Tonia is France. They just haven't done Africa. And up north is all the Chaos tribes. That was always the way it was, which is Scandinavia and all that kind of lot. So maybe I've not seen anything.
Just kidding. Just kidding. I love seen Scandinavia.
Cafe, but
yeah, I reckon it's a potential thing. I reckon they won't just dismiss it out of hand for the work that's gone into it already.
I'm not sure if we'll see models or maybe go for a redesign. I don't know. I mean, the old world, they've got a lot to do before they can even get to that stuff. Yeah. Clearly, they've already not introduced one range, which is Kislev. They've just introduced the Dwarfs, so they've got a long way to go before they get to anything like that. We'll have to wait and see. As far as the Warcry revamp, I can totally see it. They've just binned off a lot of those Chaos squads, warband. They've just got rid of a load of them, stopped producing them. I could see them wanting to make it a bit more appealing to people who do other factions. Cities of Sigmar versus Skaven sounds totally natural to me.
Also ties in with the current edition stuff.
The current edition, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I could see that getting a revamp, if I'm being honest. I think Warcry, it's run its course. They've already shrunk the boxes down. They're not selling out. The 40k versions of each kill team are selling out. The Warcry ones, notably, are not. They're always available. Yeah. So I could see that getting a revamp, absolutely. Next one. The old world is underperforming against projections, but not massively, mostly attributed to a lack of a big villain draw when the Tomb Kings don't seem to be considered a villain in the grand scheme of things. First major event, reintroducing more armies from the Legends stable, is expected to pick up the slack. Skaven is a popular army among players, but the intent of keeping the old world and AS divided, choice was made to give AOS the Skaven option for a more notable Chaos release in 2024, and the old world will see the return of vampire counts by 2025. Soul Blight Gravelords in 4th will be leaning further away from the original vampire count aesthetic to differentiate the two lines. Expect a new Neferata model.
If true, I wonder what they'll go for, because I quite like the old vampire count model aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, for the old world, we would see that return. For AOS, they want to do things separately. It makes sense to me. Yeah, 4th edition, Age of Sigmar, launch box. It makes sense that they wouldn't want to split that off against the old world, which is why when they said they were binning off those models, they didn't say this is going to the old world. They just said, this is getting binned off, new stuff's coming. So that makes a lot of sense, especially given what happens later. With regards to the rest, GW Gap plans change a lot, but it makes sense for me. Vampire counts would be a good thing to have in the old world.
Yep.
They would want to keep AOS and the old world separate because obviously things like pricing groups and different studios having different forecasts. So yeah, I can totally see that being the case. Time will tell on that. I'm not saying one way or the other. It sounds plausible. Okay, on to the next lot. Warhammer Underworlds is ending production this year. There is one final box planned after Wintermoor, along with limited time reprinted boxes of the most popular warbands of the past, coming in quarterly waves as a last hurrah. It was intended to be a gateway game and a competitive casual tournament product, and it didn't succeed at either. And the cost in board and cards makes them less to profit than the Warcry terrain, so it is being dropped. This wouldn't surprise me. In all honesty, I think they push, as we said the other day when Wintermoor came out, it's like it's only 6 months after the other one.
Yeah,
which
was a bit of an anomaly.
So yeah, I could totally see that. It's a shame because I think Underworlds is a genuinely good game. I think they made some. I just think they just pushed too much of it too soon. They should just let it go a little bit longer. And they've just, there's been seven different core game boxes. It's ridiculous.
Possibly, yeah.
It's too much. So although I really like them, and I like them as painting projects and everything, I can't say I've ever massively got into the game. And I've never seen anything organised play, because when I was at Wayland, we got organised play stuff in, but I don't know how popular it's been. I don't know if it's ever beaten its rivals. Certainly, I've never seen it get as popular as Magic or anything like that. So again, yeah, seems perfectly likely to me. They might want to focus the resources elsewhere. I personally think it's a shame that we never got to see a 40k version, because I think that would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been pretty good, to be fair. I'd have got it.
Yeah, little board, few bits of terrain. And you've got some weapons, go pew pew pew, and you can shoot people and stuff and try and get objectives. And just something you can get out and play in 45, 45 minutes, which you can do with Underworlds, with 40k on it, allowing you to do some really exceptional, weird and zany models like Underworlds has given us.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity there. I thought about a year after Underworlds come out, I was like, yes, do a 40k version of this and put in quizzes in it. It's going to be massive.
That'd have been
never
cool.
Bothered. Yeah, they just never bothered. Fair enough.
I like to think that Games Workshop potentially used Underworlds as like a tester for potential new ranges. So when you had like the Kurnothi Hunters, and they were like, see how well this one sells, and then we'll consider expanding out that warband and the design of each particular character out into like a units for an army and stuff like that. Because I really like the Kurnothi, surprisingly. They're one of my more favourite looking warbands in principle and aesthetic. And I was kind of like, if you do an army for this, I may potentially be tempted, but they never did.
I've liked 80%, I would say, of the warbands that GW have put out for Underworlds. Like, really like.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit sad to see it go, but at the same time, you can't keep up with that. It's just ridiculous. Every 6 months, you've got to buy a new starter box. It's like, what? No.
Thanks.
For me, it was just one of those ones where you just couldn't keep up. So I've never seen people go mad about it. I've never seen people talking massively about it in any particular way. So that does make sense to me.
Yeah.
I think that, as I say, it's never been as popular as Magic or something like that. And the prices for Magic these days are absolutely through the roof. So people are still playing that in preference to Underworlds, and Underworlds is costing that much money because it is a card heavy and obviously board heavy and token heavy game. Yeah, I could see him binning it off.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is a big one. Legions Imperialis has massively underperformed. Some of the blame on this is placed on people. Wait a minute. Is placed on people expecting epic 40k again and not wanting pure heresy on a smaller scale. Others blame the launch window, expect support for another year or two, but like Aeronautica, this game won't be around for very long. Now, me and Matt have thoughts on this, and they're mainly thoughts that we have come up with and said, and a lot of those thoughts are GW are fucking this up royally.
Yeah, blatantly.
Yeah, to be completely honest.
It's kind of weird because they're like, oh, it's massively underperformed, and I'm kind of like, in a weird way, I'm kind of taking that personally, because I'm like, it's underperformed, but it's not for the lack of demand, because pretty much everything they did initially sold out. Yes, and then the second wave of stuff also sold out, and there's still boxes of stuff that they're doing, like that they've done recently, like drop pods and stuff, which we should be seeing. Which we should be seeing crop up this upcoming weekend. Fucking sold out, and it's like, you sold everything that you made. Like, how is that underperforming? The only thing that's underperforming is their fucking production.
The only thing I can think of is basically they made a second bunch of core boxes.
And they didn't shift them.
And I think they've just not sold. They've never sold out again. Obviously, that all has to come from China, so it's a minimum order quantity.
Yeah.
This has come through. Now, this is one of the problems with games like this. Unfortunately, a game like Legion Imperialis is primarily made for us grognards.
Yep.
Okay.
Like most of the stuff from specialist games.
Yes, like most of the stuff from specialist games. So if you look at the average age of the people who are playing these games, the average age of people who are playing Legion Imperialis is a lot higher than the people that are playing 40k. You've got some youngsters doing it, and by youngsters I mean 20 to 30 sort of age, because sadly that is youngsters now. And then you've got some kiddies.
That's more
you've
the
got
middle.
Some kiddies doing it. It's just horrible, isn't it? You've got some kiddies doing it. I remember that when I was us. You got some kiddies doing that as well.
In my head, that still is us.
I don't know, maybe 24, 25 or something stupid like that. When it comes to the Horus Heresy and Legion Imperialis, I imagine you'd be leaning much closer towards early 30s.
Yeah.
Because it's people who played the
like
Epic.
us.
Epic hasn't been around for 20 years.
No.
And it's people who've been playing Horus Heresy. And Horus Heresy throughout the years has historically also been picked up by older players.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Legion Imperialis, you've got an older age range of people. Already you've got a limited build audience, and they saw it fly off the shelves immediately. They're like, shit, we need to get this back out to basically make sure we don't lose out on sales. The problem was, in the meantime, while we waited for it to come back out, they fucked up everything. And I think there would have been a lot of people who looked at it and went, just going to wait and see how this goes before I commit to buying in.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'll play a friend's copy, see how the game is. And to be fair, the people who have played it seem to have been having fun, which is good, because that is what a game is meant to be. But it's a heavily compromised release. As we said, the Great Slaughter is out, done, excellent, you've got it all. Most of the stuff's gone. We've finally got drop pods, but you still ain't got no jet bikes or land speeders or bikes. They're still not there.
Soon?
So maybe.
Soon?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what I would say Legion
insert goose meme here. Goose peering over a wall. Soon?
Indeed. I'll do it. I'll do it with my chameleon. I've got a good one with that. Evil Spock. Yep. I think the release has been heavily compromised, and it's a real shame because although obviously they were never going to have the resources to put all the Xenos races and everything like that, and it was never going to be epic. They probably had to be quite a lot of wrangling to get them to do this this Horus Heresy version of it.
Yeah.
I would hate to think that this game would disappear without getting at least the Mechanicum, the Custodes, and all the rest of demons and stuff, and maybe some proper chaos bits and pieces. But the way they've handled it thus far, I suspect that might be the case. I can totally believe this. Those core boxes have not moved. Part of it's GW's fault. They refuse to support these releases. So Legions Imperialis released it, had a battle report back in November, which had items that you still can't buy, i.e. the jet bikes and the fucking bikes and land speeders. In the battle report, it had one battle report on Warhammer Plus. Other than that, it has not been mentioned at all. It's been left. No. The only place that Legion Imperialis has been mentioned has been on Warhammer Community. So when you support a game like that, you can't be surprised when you have faltering support for it. In my opinion, especially from the age range that we have, where people will be just like, fuck it, I'm just going to go load printing stuff.
Yeah. I
have to say that while I can believe this quite possibly, this is GW's fault. They fucked the release massively.
Absolutely. Yep.
I provided there wasn't something horrible in there.
Yeah, I don't think it's an intentional thing. Like,
no,
I think
it's just
not. Issues that they're having. But then it just seems unreasonable for people at the top to go, oh, this didn't sell enough. Fuck this. And it's like, yeah, but it's because of you.
Money counters don't look like that. Look at that though. They'll look at the amount of studios spending and they'll look at the amount of studios making.
Yeah.
That's it. That is the balance. And if you're not making enough money, we shut down your product and we do something else.
Then they should look at why.
Yeah, they should look at why, and there should be questions being asked. And I've said that GW acts like it doesn't know what the fuck it's doing. It acts like they don't have a plan, they don't have a stable plan, they don't know what's going on. And we know there's a lot of problems. There's problems with shipping and logistics and transport and production, all that kind of stuff. But the problem is GW doesn't talk about it.
No, so it just looks, people just assume they're inept.
Nobody has come out and said, look, Legion Imperialis players, the Legion Imperialis community, we know it's been a rocky start. We really appreciate your support. Here's some pictures at a long-term plan.
Yeah, that'd have been great. Can we have a roadmap, please?
Here's a roadmap. Here's a roadmap. We're looking to get you this stuff. Bear with us. It's happening. They don't. They dump it out. They leave it quiet. And you just get a Warhammer, a contradictive Warhammer community article every now and again, which is just worth bullshit because those people don't know what they're fucking talking about either. They're literally just told to write something and put it out. And if it turns out to be lies, they'll just edit it later because they can. So that one, sadly, I can believe it. I think it has underperformed. I think it's been a compromised launch. I think they fucked it. not intentionally or anything like that. I think just circumstances and their lack of communication and them being crap has just fucked the game.
It's not like the initial demand wasn't there, especially initially. Like
initially, yes. I think, as I say, those second bunch of core games that have been bought and ordered are just sitting on shelves because people have seen the way the game's being treated and they're like, no. Or they've seen that the stuff that you want for your armies is out of stock or whatever, or they've looked into the price of it and they've seen the prices and they're just like, no, it's just not worth it. So you're going to have those hardcores, that you're going to have some people who do some 3D printing and just do their armies through 3D printing, which is absolutely possible. You can easily get yourself a Horus Heresy, Legion Imperialis army 3D printed. Like, easier than you can get it from GW. So I just think GW just haven't done themselves any favours.
Not that we encourage that.
No. I support buying GW stuff because you want these games to exist.
Yeah.
If GW don't make it easy for you, then you're not going to do it. You can't put roadblocks in your customer's way to buying your product, and that's what GW have done.
Yeah.
We can't make the entire video about that. So sadly, I think that is quite possibly right.
Yeah.
Next up.
Yeah.
Necromunda and Horus Heresy both sell very well and will be the most stable games for the foreseeable future.
Good.
You see that? Been massive input into the Horus Heresy recently with
nice one.
The Solar Auxilia, and we know Mechanicum are coming. So Mechanicum are coming everywhere.
Oh no.
Right, so we know that's coming. Middle Earth has seen a surprising uptick in sales this year. Nothing to do with Rings of Power, I can assure you that. With the external license, its support will always be less than the rest, but don't expect it to go anywhere anytime soon. No, I think there's a certain advantage that GW will always have with being the people to make that. And with Warner Brothers having recently announced that they're going to make a lot more films, that's only going to continue.
Yeah.
They've had the license for 25 years, they ain't going to let it go anytime soon. So, yeah, I expect that's fine. Expect more than Stormcast Eternals to get a large range discontinuing. Post-lockdown Indomitus, the people holding the purse strings, mainly those who jumped in from other parts of the tabletop pie. Oh man, no, what pie? Like TCGs have been asking, what do you mean people buy product and then go a decade without buying more? And the new mandate is that a customer should be replacing their army every 3 to 4 years. Long enough to grow attached emotionally, but not long enough to be unwilling to buy another. Yeah, this is another thing that I said when I did my video about them culling a load of stuff. It looks like they have decided to put a lifespan on your army,
which is bullshit if you ask me.
Which is absolute bullshit in my opinion, but I saw this coming. I don't think GW actively cares about hobbyists in that way. They will always want the perception of having been seen to do so and being
anymore.
They used to.
Yeah, they used to.
GW somewhere on the line, I'm not sure exactly when it was, GW lost its soul.
Yeah, balance tipped a little bit too far.
It happens. These companies that go corporate, they get big enough, and it's going to happen. But GW lost its soul. So yes, I can see this. I can see more not that old models getting pumped off in order to buy new stuff, and they carry on. This means a few army sub-factions are going away in the next 2 years, which again, I don't think it's I think they expanded too big. 26 factions, Age of Sigmar, it's too many. It's fucking ridiculous. For Age of Sigmar's dispossessed, any high elf wood elves outside of Resin and some dark elves will be retired. Others moved into battle tomes such as Daughters of Cain. It's unconfirmed, but don't expect Fire Slayers to be around forever. Poor naked Bernie dwarves.
I'd be very interested to see how popular they were in the first place.
No, I won't miss them, mate.
Not at all.
Right, on to another bunch of rumours. For 40k, Death Guard, Adeptus Mechanicus, Genius of the Cult, and Adeptus Astartes are all losing a few units. Harlequins have gone completely, and Grey Knights are becoming a universal ally for Imperium forces rather than a standalone army.
Well, that sounds familiar.
Intended to fill their former niche. Both major titles will see another attempt at an ever-chosen Eye of Terror mini Battle Tomes codexes intended for narrative smallest games. The first two are Battle Tome Blighted Crusade and Codex Imperial Agents, releasing this autumn. We have seen Codex Imperial Agents. We know it's coming. I've seen pictures of the stuff at the printers, and that is definitely coming. So, Death Guard, yes, big range. They just kept adding shit to it. Too many characters, too many bits that don't make sense. It could do with a bit of a culling. Adeptus Mechanicus, we talked about last night in our video.
Yeah, I don't think they've got too many units, really. I mean, if you're going to cull anything, you can cull some of the shit from the second release that they did.
Yeah. I'd certainly be upset if they got rid of the older stuff from the Adeptus Mechanicus. Apart from maybe those Electro Priests, they could go.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't miss those.
Just as a point outside of this, are people going to be watching this video before you upload the one that we did last night?
They are, sadly, yes. So it can't be helped. But yeah, we went through the Adeptus Mechanicus range last night because after GW swung the axe on Age of Sigmar, we figured we'd do the same with 40k because I think it's too big and too bloated. Let's just say the Primaris did not do very well.
No.
We decided more or less the Adeptus Mechanicus, apart from the newer stuff not being to our aesthetic taste, was a fairly balanced and well done faction.
Yeah. Weird.
So we'll have to wait and see. The one that upsets me here is Genes to the Cult.
They can lose some characters. I mean, fuck's sake.
Yes, they can definitely lose some characters. Wouldn't have a problem with that. From the units that they have, the only thing from the Genes to the Cult Codex that I would say you could get rid of would be the buggy.
Oh, the little pew buggy.
Can't remember what it's called now.
I mean, that's pretty much the only the only fast vehicle they get.
They don't need a fast vehicle. They're an ambush army.
Well,
they don't.
It's always good to have stuff that can flank without mysteriously popping up.
Yeah, but it doesn't transport. It just drives about and it's got a couple of rocket launchers in the back and some stubbers. It's crap. So I can see that going away.
Rocket launchers though. Everyone needs fire support.
Other than that, I can't think of anything in the Genes to the Cult army that is superfluous. I mean, you've got the hybrid Metaphort that's just because that's a dual build box.
I love those. I just love how freaky they are.
Yeah, they're cool. You've got the Aberrants.
I like them as well. Even their boss one with his the thing double face.
The Abominant. Yeah.
That's a very nice homage.
No, I can't think of too much that they would lose, but yeah, that's what it says. And Adeptus Astartes are all losing these for units. And as we said, we culled the Primaris big time. I imagine they'll go more towards the old Marines and get rid of those. Harlequins being gone completely is interesting. It doesn't say folded. I mean, folded into the Eldar could see, but I don't see them completely disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them becoming supplemental, like what they're apparently going to do with the Grey Knights.
Yes, the Grey Knights, we talked about this last night, and that's actually what I said, wasn't it? I said, look, I think these should be folded into like a Demon Hunters Imperial Agents Codex.
Yeah, but when we said they should have done that with Custodes as well, because it's like, really? They're supposed to be guarding the Imperial Palace. What the fuck are they doing wandering around the bumfuck system nowhere?
Bumfuck system nowhere, Segmentum Obscurus.
That's the one.
Yeah, and again, with the Custodes, the problem with the Custodes is they just show up Space Marines as a full army.
Yeah, it's like... What are you doing?
Space Marines they're meant to be the elite. And then Primaris were meant to be better than Space Marines, but apparently Custodes are better than Primaris. Just like, no, thank you. No. So yeah, this is interesting. Again, I could see it. Those Grey Knights, they're old. I could see them not wanting the spotlight of being a separate faction. You fold them into Imperial Agent, you don't have to redo them anytime soon. So yeah, I could see that. Now I had to read this next part carefully. This is part of the Whatification. Now, I thought that was Wokification, but it's not. It's Wizards of the Coast. So this is part of the WOTC-ification of GW at the advice of Dreaded Words, shareholders, and US consultants.
Fuck's sake. Meddling.
No way. I'm going to get all territorial and fucking patriotic and British here. GW is a British company. Fuck off.
Let's do our own thing. You guys have got Fantasy Flight. They do enough stuff.
The thing is, it's part of the charm. This is one of the things that I don't understand, and it's something that Hollywood did with China. So just to go briefly off track, China loved dumb American action movies. They fucking loved them. Warcraft, Transformers, Godzilla films. Basically anything with big giant robots or big monsters or stupid action scenes. The Fast and the Furious movies made ridiculous money in China. They're not good films.
No, they're really not. They're entertaining for like a one-off. That's about it.
They make massive amounts of money in China. The reason they make massive amounts of China is because they're very American. They're not what China is normally exposed to. They're exotic. Yeah. They're foreign. They're different. They're not what China gets, because China is obviously a very communist country and very government controlled, and they don't normally get that kind of stuff. No. So what Hollywood did was it pandered to China, and it went, we're going to go directly for the Chinese market, and we're going to make everything as Chinese as we can by doing shitty versions of Mulan and stuff like that. And China turned around and went, this isn't what we want. We want your dumb American shit.
Yeah.
And it failed.
Yep.
Well, surely the reason that the Americans love our wonderful Games Workshop is because it's all British and stuff. That's like the core integrity of Games Workshop. It's a lovely little British company that makes little sort of silly stuff that the Americans would never have come up with. The Americans never would have come up with Warhammer 40,000. They just wouldn't.
Well, they didn't have Thatcher, did they? So
It's
Thatcher
all-
in the 80s
So
was
yeah,
kind
exactly.
of like a whole lot of stuff that inspired Rogue Trader in the first place. It's heavily
exactly
satirical.
that's what it's born of. It's born of post-Thatcherism, 2000 AD.
Yep.
Kind of,
Look,
you know, that
a lot of crossover in the early days of their artists there. You just look in Rogue
Exactly.
Trader and it's got full of, it's like 2000 AD style artwork.
Yeah, loads of it. There's one. I remember there's one with a Space Marines holding a couple of punks up against a wall.
That's the one.
That is the core
Military
That
fleet.
is the core identity of GW and Warhammer. And surely that's what got the Americans interested in the first place. So don't understand why you want to make it more American. I don't know. It's just me. It's just me being possessive. And
no, I'm with
seen
that.
it.
I'm good with
We've seen
that.
it slowly happen with the focus on the competitive scene, which is much, much bigger in America than it is over here.
Yep.
And
I'd say so.
I don't like it, if I'm being completely honest. So anyway, shareholders and US consultants, smaller, faster games with more focus on ease of entry. The Combat Patrol and Spear tips, I think it's Spearhead, are intended to function like Magic the Gathering, pre-constructed commander decks. That makes sense. Expensive lifestyle products that a player can buy, put together, have balanced games against each other. Now, that does make sense because those commander decks I was looking, they did a load of Warhammer 40,000 ones, didn't they? They were like 50 quid each, a deck of cards and a few tokens. I was like, what? I'm sorry. It's like that books scene where he goes in and asks for popcorn. And he's like, I'm sorry, I gave you £10. You gave me popcorn and a drink, and now all my money's gone. He's like, that's how much it costs. He's like, look, why? Is there something special with it? Does it give me some kind of dizzying high? You know, it's like, how can magic cost that much? It's crazy. It's not actually magic. It's just, it's just a product.
No, it's just a name. It's not false advertising. There's no actual wizards on the coast either.
Yeah, but again, yeah, I can kind of see that. I mean, I was quite surprised to see when I looked at and I was going to do a video, but I was lazy in the end, and Aspects covered it, so I didn't bother. But I did notice that, the new Custodes Combat Patrol has come out.
Vaguely.
If you want to play Combat Patrol, you can't use the full box.
What?
They weren't able to balance it.
So they
just double check it.
They can't even balance their product that they brought out because it would be balanced.
Yeah, well, I always said they wouldn't be able to. If you remember when it first came out, I've just done an article on the new Custodians for 40k. I'll have a look at it later. But if you remember when it first came out, I said, good luck balancing. And the two ones I gave were the Orcs and the Custodians. And this is one of our very, very early videos that nobody's watched. So, it does, but I did say it. I said, good luck balancing those two, because the Orc Combat Patrol was like 400 points and the Custodians one was like 750 or something stupid like that. And it's actually in here. I'm sure it is. I'm sure I didn't imagine this. Let me just read it real quick.
Combat Patrol.
Yeah, here we go. Wield the Golden Sword of the Emperor in smaller scale Warhammer 40,000 games with Combat Patrol, Adeptus Custodes, which also makes for a great start to a larger army. The patrol is led by a charging ballet champion who can assemble his force from 5 Custodian Guard and a choice between 3 Alaris Terminators or 3 Wardens. You get all of the miniatures in the box, but they're just too powerful to take the whole lot into a single game of Combat Patrol.
What's nice to have options, I guess.
The contents of the Combat Patrol box are the Blade Champion that we talked about, 3 Alaris Terminators, as they alluded to, and then 10 Custodian Guard. But the Combat Patrol itself, you have to take out 5 Custodian Guard. Over 30% of the box you can't use in the game. On one side, it's nice that they put them in there so you can still use them.
Yeah, I don't think that's that bad.
They had to, so you can make a save, but you can't use them in the game. They weren't able to balance it, which is what I said all along when Combat Patrol came out. So it's nice to be proved right.
I don't think that's that bad. I'm like, nice one for putting them in the box.
I don't think it's that bad. I just think it's quite funny that they just admitted they weren't able to balance it. They're just like, oh yeah, you can't use the whole box. Sorry, we can make it work. The thing is, they took out the weaker stuff. So they took out all the Sisters of Silence.
Yeah.
So had you left in the Sisters of Silence and taken out?
I'm not really sure how popular they are. They would seem to be a very niche faction.
I think it's a case that people don't care about the Sisters of Silence. I could see them maybe going away. Then that's another army you've got with no female representation. Certain people will get very upset again. So maybe not. Anyway, carrying on. The intent over time is to have less players with 30,000 points of Dark Angels and more players with 2,000 points in every army range. Now, what do you think about that, Matt?
To quote the kids, I feel attacked. I'm pretty sure I've probably got 30,000 points of Dark Angel.
30,000 points of Dark Angel, yeah.
I've been collecting the bastards since I got fucking the Deathwing expansion for Space Hulk in like 1992.
Now, the thing here that makes me think that this is very, very, very likely true is that last line. more players for 2,000 points in every army range.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we looked at the new combat patrol part work was coming up?
That's right. It was a lot more varied across the ranges.
It was 9 different armies with a combat patrol for each, or maybe 8. I can't remember. It's quite a lot.
Seems legit.
So that seems very, very legit to me, if I'm being completely honest with you, that GW wants people to collect more armies with less points. So I saw that and I thought of that combat patrol part work, and I'll chuck the picture up on the video. You can see it. And the new combat patrol part work, because again, you probably didn't see our video, it's basically, rather than being just Imperial versus Chaos or Imperial versus whatever, Tyranids or whatever, it's lots of small armies. So there's some Orcs in there, there's some Tyranids in there, some Jesus Cults in there, there's Chaos in there, two Chaos armies actually in there. You've got Space Marines, no Sisters, so I did the Sisters last time round. Some Guard in there, I think. I don't know if there's Mechanicus in there or not. But yeah, basically it was a load of combat patrols, all bundled into one. And they're the old combat patrols that are no longer available. Yeah, quite interesting. Quite interesting. I think one of them might have been Custodes, actually. Anyway, so that's what's going on with that. And again, I find that quite likely. Okay, next.
Hold up. Did we miss a point? The point above. Both major titles will see an attempt at Ever-Chosen / Eye of Terror.
Oh, I said all of that.
Did you?
Yes, because I said about seeing Imperial agents at the printers.
Oh, yes, well done. You have passed the test. Continue.
Right. With the rise in alternate hobby products, such as paints and tools, the range of Citadel paints is being reduced. If something has an option where a contrast paint can fill the role of both, expect the base layer of said colour to go away. Primers are also being cut down to Grey Seer, Chaos Black, Mechanica Standard Grey, Iron Warriors, Xandri Dust, and Death Guard Green. TLDR, the COVID boom is over, and cost cuts are happening to avoid increases in outgoings. Okay, again, this I agree with. I think this is very likely. We have seen in the last 2 years no less than 5 different ranges of paints being launched by various companies. I think GW have just turned around and gone, you know what, yeah, whatever. They'll always do hobby stuff, but I think they've just gone, you know what, we promote our stuff.
Market now.
Yeah, I mean, like, how many different versions of Contrast are there now?
Loads.
Leo have got one, Army Painter have got one, Green Stuff World have got one. You know, there's loads of them. So yeah, this would surprise me at all. Obviously, they're not going to go away completely. I could also absolutely see the primers being cut down. I think, I think in all honesty, this is fairly likely. Citadel range, if anything, is probably too big anyway. I don't necessarily like the way the Citadel range works, if I'm being completely honest. The amount of times I've turned around. I think
or rather, it used to be when you had the system and they did like the table of like the bases that had a bunch of different different page, you know what I mean?
I think it's quite good for newcomers, and they like the whole idea of, because as we said when we saw that painting phase video, the guy who was on there was like, look, the whole idea, basically, we want to get you from the unassembled model to the assembled model, painted on the table, playing games as quickly as possible. That's the whole idea from a gaming perspective, because we understand there's people who don't want to spend ages, they don't particularly enjoy the painting part of the hobby. Hello, Neil. And
nods to the skull farmer.
They want the stuff on the table playing games, and that's why Contrast came about. And obviously, they've expanded the Contrast range, and I think, I mean, there's a lot of people who don't use Citadel anyway, or don't use exclusively Citadel. And for me, what I've always found very annoying is that the base colours and the layer colours are different colours.
Yeah.
You're going to have to bear with me here, but it's like the amount of times I've used a colour and I've been like, God, I wish this was a base colour, you know. So, yeah, I can see this happening. That sounds, you know, possible to me.
I mean, the way I see it is like they'll probably just treat their own Citadel paints as like an entry-level thing. So people who are getting into the hobby, it's like, look, buy our magazine. It tells you how to paint the stuff with our own paints. Look, here's our paints. Buy more of our stuff. But then once people
on the back
get
of the
used
boxes,
to that,
it's always going to have the paints on there that they use for that and everything like that.
But then
they're
once people get into the hobby more, they're kind of like, well, this colour isn't quite what I want. Oh, look, there's a shitload of other colours floating out in the world. I'll go and get one of those.
Like GWs, white and black are both absolute shit.
Yeah. They're not
sorry,
great.
GW, they just are. A bad and black is a horrible colour. And White Scar is a fucking horrible colour, and you've been shown up by nearly every other company out there on those two paints.
You mean aesthetically, or do you mean like the makeup of the actual paint?
No, the makeup of the actual paint.
Yeah, it's not great. The metallics aren't great either.
There's a load. No, their metallics aren't brilliant. There are a load of GW paints that are complete shit. The amount of times that I have opened up, was it Rakaf Flesh?
Oh yeah, and it's all just separated out into beige and grey and lumps.
Yeah, It's just done its best to turn into two completely different fucking constituent parts.
Yeah.
So other companies don't have this problem, GW. So you fucked up somewhere, and I would not put GW Citadel paints at the top of the list. Not in a million years.
No. You have to get one of those little vibrating tits like what Mike got. That you just put
the vibrating nipple.
That's the one. You put the pot on it and push down. It just goes, and it like.
I've got a Black & Decker mouse, little hand sanders.
Right.
I just use one of those. Just hold the paint against that. Just put like a cloth on it, so you're not actually sanding the bottom of the paint pot, because that could end badly.
Yeah.
But other than that, I just put agitators in it. But this is another thing with GW consistently or continually refusing to adopt the paint bottle method that like everybody else now uses.
Dropper bottles, they won't. They're too stubborn. Their pots are kind of iconic, so they won't.
And also, they know that you waste more paint that way, and you'll buy more paint. Piracy time.
Yeah, all the old school people just sit there with the fucking lid open, just dipping their brush into the lid.
yeah.
And then while it all slowly dries in there,
dries in the rim, and then you can't close it properly, and it all dries out.
Yeah. It's the same reason they don't do a wet palette.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We're onto your game, GW. Well, I think the wet palette also. The wet palette is again they aim at a beginner audience. They don't. Is kind of an advanced thing. You've got to add water to it and get it right and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I can see that. Right, on to the last batch of rumours, guys. Thanks for sticking with us, assuming you still are.
All two of them. It's dropped by one from last night.
Hey, we've passed 300 subs now. Thank you very much, guys.
3% ultimate power.
Indeed. Powering up the laser slowly. Right, next one. No Chaos Dwarfs aren't happening. They look too anti-Semitic for it to happen, and GW has a problem as it is with being seen as the Nazi company and won't touch them again. At least not in the original sense. I don't know what to make about this.
Well, it's like clearly you've got like a big beard, a tall hat, and you like balls and guns. Clearly you hate Jews. It's like what? That's a bit of a reach.
I always got more of like a Turkish kind of.
It's definitely kind of a bit of a Middle Eastern Babylonian kind of vibe there.
Yeah, exactly. I never saw them as Jewish.
No.
A little bit.
No.
And I hammered one of them flat when I worked at GW for a laugh. So I've seen Chaos Dwarfs.
Yeah.
I mean, what I would say.
What? Just what?
Is I can see in their current form people saying that
they just look daft, right? They're a product of the early 90s when the design studio was just like, lol, just do something funky, and Brian Amstel was like,
exactly.
It was like Perry Twins. Design me some Chaos Dwarfs. I need a big fucking hat. Here's a design brief. And they're like, okay, here's a hat. And so they went back to Brian Amstel, and he's like, hat's too small, mate. Make the hat bigger. And they're like, are you fucking serious? Okay. Make a bigger hat. Goes back to Brian Amstel, and he's like, hat's too small, mate. Make it bigger. And it's like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And then he finally sees it, and he's like, that's a big hat. And it's like, yeah, it's a bit late now. They're in production, but they're just too daft. That's why they're fucking silly.
No wonder people didn't like Brian Ansell. I think that as the models, I mean, because the thing is, there's a lot of people out there who are like, oh my god, GW used to be so racist because they used to make models of pygmies.
What?
So GW used to make. I mean, God, there's GW old Citadel models with cocks and tits and bullshit.
Not even demonettes or witch elves.
They were made. No, these are old barbarian.
Before that, yeah,
they were made. But you know what, kids? It was the fucking 80s. People were having fun.
Yeah.
People didn't have a fucking stick up their arse about everything and judge everything by the standards of previous years.
Yeah.
People just went, oh, you know what? Fucking, and even, believe it or not, even in the 90s and the 2000s, when those models were like 15, 20 years old, we just turned around and went, that's funny, isn't it? Yeah. He's got his cock out.
This one's got a winky.
No, nobody turned around and, oh my god, I don't want to think of the children and the people who are offending.
It's like, the kids know what dicks and tits are. They've all seen them, right? It's not a fucking problem.
Seriously. Not fucking anti-Semitic.
Anti-Semitic. How funny.
I hate people so much.
How are they the Nazi company? It's like literally in the most recent White Dwarf, they've got artwork with like LBGTQ plus. I'm not overly familiar with the correct term.
It was all the flags. It's like all the flags.
Space
it's like
Marines
gender fluid and everything.
All of the flags. And it's kind of like, that's nice artwork. If they were Nazis, I suspect they probably wouldn't have put it in there.
Yeah. Oh, come on, guys. Seriously. It was the 80s. Get over it. You had a sense of humour. God, did you? They made a product when I worked for Games Workshop in the late 90s when the Dogs of War army came out. It was a guy on a dragon. Can't remember his name. He was the Dragon Lord. His dragon was called Arsenal, Arsinil, and his war cry was War-nil. 1-0.
Yeah.
That's the kind of company that GW used to be.
Not
used to have a
serious
laugh.
at all.
They
Yeah.
had a skink called Itsy Teeny. As in Itsy Teeny, tiny yellow polka dot bikini, is it?
Yeah, that's the one.
It had all that kind of stuff.
It was all very tongue in cheek. It's very British humour.
4th edition Dark Elf army book had a higher nipple count than the Sunday Sport.
The Americans,
the way it was.
Any Americans may not understand that reference.
Sunday Sport is basically a tabloid that has lots of pretty ladies in it, quite often with their tops off. It was a thing.
Yeah, we don't get it anymore.
Would now lose their shit over it.
Yeah,
and, no, I'm not saying we need to have it these days, but it was just a thing back there.
Yeah,
you just got to have a massive fucking slump and recession with the Tory government. People just wanted shit to laugh at. That's all it was. They weren't out to offend anybody. I mean, tits are good. We like tits. Tits are fun.
Everyone loves them.
Not allowed these days, but they are fun. So yeah, again, anti-Semitic, do me a favour. But in this day and age, I can see it. I can see somebody, they would just see a picture of the Chaos Dwarfs and be like, oh my God, you hate Jews. We're just making a caricature of Jews. I can see it. People are that insane these days. Anyway, before I lose our remaining subscribers, let's just carry on.
All 2 of them.
All 2 of them.
Please don't go.
The power of our laser is dropping.
No. Wilting.
The old world sold a lot of Tomb King models, but very few Bretonnians by comparison. Just a bit of trivia there.
Tomb Kings are awesome. That's why.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Tomb Kings were one of the last models, the last ranges to be released for the old fantasy range. Therefore, they don't look quite as dated as the Bretonnians. Even with a liquor paint, those Bretonnians look old. Horses were old model. I mean, the Tomb King horses look bad enough. If I was to get some, I'd sort of give them a bit of a trimming down because those were old mounts. Like, they weren't from the Tomb Kings. They're the old undead horses, skeleton horde horses that just got reused. So they show their age. So yeah, I mean, I could see the Bretonnians, and also the Bretonnians are a lot more niche. A feudal kind of. So I'm on a post rant coming down now. I'm just like, I'm gonna fall asleep in a minute. So yeah, I could see that. It's just a little thing. Right, next up, the high up old guard dinosaurs are really not happy with people like Peachy and Suggs giving insider secrets and getting people on social media to demand artist credit on paint jobs.
Now I think this person's definition of old guard is somewhat different to my definition of old guard, because our definition of old guard is like back in the day, people actually used to get credited for the fucking artwork and for paint jobs and for their book and for like the design studio,
for their writing, for the sculptures, for everything.
I mean, if you get your hands on
you would know exactly who sculpted a model.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get your hands on
say, here are Brian Nelson's new orcs, which were awesome, and here's Brian Nelson talking about it.
Yeah, which is good. But I mean, like, get your hands on like the old Space Hulk like rule books from the 1st edition. There's a shitload of artwork in them, and each one of them has a little symbol. And if you look, there's like a little legend at the front of the book, and it shows which little symbol and who the artist was. So they get full credit for what they've done.
Even in the core rule books, they had an artist credit index at the back.
Yeah, I think it's bullshit that they don't.
Up until maybe 6. No, I agree. I 100% agree. I think it's bullshit, and I think that it makes a lot of the artwork very homogenous when you don't know who's made it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I can't see anything to do with royalties, because the artwork's the property of the company. So it's not like the artist gets any cut from it, or like they can demand anything.
I think it's just a corporate thing again.
It's just bollocks.
But even on Magic cards, it's got the artist's thing down the bottom.
Yes, it should.
I think in general, because GW is worried about cultivating the cult of the celebrity, like people like Suggs,
or the opposite, or the opposite of people like Matt Ward,
or the opposite. Yeah, I think
when it comes to the design studio codex work,
the high up old guard dinosaurs, I don't think they mean the people that care about GW that have been there a long time. I think
you mean upper management,
directors. Yeah, I don't think they're talking about people who care.
Who put the changes in the first place, and then they're like, "What the fuck? How dare they speak out against it?" It's like it's a shit
pretty
change.
Much made it all corporate. So there's not a lot to say there. Totally believe that. Absolutely, 100%. I've spoken to Suggs about why she left GW and all that kind of stuff, and I'm not going to necessarily repeat it here. Yeah, I think there's a reason why GW has a certain amount of turnover. There was a big loss when they lost Peachy. I think they never really, not Peachy, sorry.
Duncan.
Peachy's great. Duncan.
Yeah.
I think there was a big loss when they lost Duncan. A big loss. And I don't think they ever really recovered from that.
I suspect he probably wasn't treated well enough as he should have been.
Yes, I was going to say, I think he just wasn't treated well enough, and I do think that was a mistake by GW.
Being given that I work in large corporations and I've worked in several, it's a common thing because they're just so industrial and impersonal. They're just like, oh, blah, blah. And the HR department will be like, oh, yes, recognise, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes down to it, they're just like, nah, it's all about money. Like, we can't
exactly.
do this about for money. You, sorry.
And perception. It's about perception. And I've spoken to Duncan both personally and also in a business sense when I worked with War Cradle and we did some stuff with his painting academy. He's a lovely bloke. I can see that GW, probably didn't treat him very well.
No.
I'm not saying
they might have treated him okay, but they probably didn't treat him as well as they should have.
As well as they should have, and cultivated in the way they should. Yeah, it's a GW thing, and it always has been. Right, next, a lot of the leaks of screenshots and sprues are not leaks, but official intended PR. The excitement makes for good word of mouth, spread faster than the plague on places like Twitter and Reddit, and presumably 4chan. Totally see this as well. There was a case yesterday where a guy opened up a Malcador tank, and he had one of the new Skaven sprues that hasn't even been
How
released.
The fuck does that even happen accidentally?
That can only happen on purpose. I'm sorry.
I told you those Skaven get around, didn't I?
I told you they should have basically they should have basically sprayed it gold, done a promotion.
Willy Wonka did, yeah.
Willy Wonka golden ticket, absolutely. You found it, and you got a
sense of humour for that, though.
You got a tour around the street. Yeah, no, you need a sense of humour about that, exactly. But it's the kind of thing I would have done, and that would have been really cool. But again, GW can't be seen to do that. They need to be corporate. They need to be professional all the time, and they need to suck the soul out of everything. Yeah. Nothing can be irreverent. Nothing
needs to
be
down
fun.
the line.
Exactly.
Unless it's Blood Bowl.
Down the line, and I fucking hate it. Yeah,
Blood Bowl gets a pass.
Maybe. Next one. White Dwarf sells terribly, and despite changes to insert cards, rules, and more painting guides, the internet has made it largely redundant, and they have just been holding on for the big issue 500. It's almost been cancelled twice in the last 5 years, and will probably go all digital or on a hiatus in the new year. Yes, absolutely. I think that White Dwarf is completely and totally irrelevant now.
I think they should just be digital. I like having the magazines. My wife hates them fucking piling up on the toilet windowsill.
Tie it into Warhammer Plus subscription.
Yeah.
Bump it up by £1. Free digital White Dwarf. Or don't listen to me, GW. Don't bump it up by £1. Keep it the same price. chucking a free digital White Dwarf.
Yeah. Did we actually miss a point this time? Where the stores changed their names from Games Workshop to the Warhammer shop?
Oh my god, I did. Well done, Matt. I was testing you. That was me. That was me testing you. You passed.
Yes, I passed the test.
Well done.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah, because Warhammer is a stupid name for a shop.
Yes, from Games Workshop to the Warhammer shop, see a shocking decline in regular attendance. At first, this was waved away as COVID, as many things were by the wrong people in jobs they were shit at.
True. Carl will definitely vouch for that.
In the last 5 years than the 20 before it. Yes, some people are not very good.
I would be very interested in seeing those closure stats because that sounds a little bit I mean, yeah, COVID.
It might be overseas though. I don't remember seeing any. But the thing is, they don't announce closures, and I've not been seeing many openings. People would rather shop online or go to a third-party store with more tables and amenities. I could totally see this.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I think anybody does. As soon as you realise it's a possibility, why would you buy from Games Workshop? I mean, even online at the moment, if you buy from Games Workshop, you are guaranteed to get your after you get it from third party.
Yeah, I mean they used to do different tiers of postage. So if you paid for the most expensive one, you actually received the stuff for release. But I don't know if they do that anymore, especially with their current state of their warehouse. It was a state. I don't know if it still is. I haven't ordered from Games Workshop directly for a while.
I'm not sure. But yeah, I could totally see this being a thing. I never liked that rebrand anyway. It's because they were trying to make Warhammer a brand. And they were like, give me just 2 seconds. I am literally just going to plug my headset in. Don't think this is going to cut it off. I hope it's just going to give it some energy because it's just going beep, beep. Beep, beep. And eventually those beep beeps are going to stop and it will stop recording.
I'll be okay. Although I'll probably end up like Garth from Wayne's World. It's just him, but I'm just like,
it's still recording. You can still hear me? You all good?
Hello?
Don't take this. Can you still hear me? Right. Yeah, no, I can see this. I mean, I think the rebranding to Warhammer, I never liked it in the first place. I think Games Workshop is just a very...
It's a generic term. Like I remember you saying when you used to work there, you used to get people wandering in asking for computer games that were nothing to do with Games Workshop.
At least they walked in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a logical name, so you can see why people would do that. But it's like
the thing is, you had a nice big yellow and red logo as well.
Yeah, it was very primary colour.
You've got that Warhammer in its weird font. In the old, you had like a Games Workshop, the old sort of signs that stick out perpendicular from the storefront.
Yes.
So you could see it walking down the street.
So you see them, yeah.
Yeah, I could technically see this. I mean, obviously, a lot of the stores have been cut down to one person anyway, apart from the big ones like Nottingham and stuff like that. Retail is just fucking dying anyway. Even here in Nottingham, there are so many shops that are boarded up.
Yeah.
They are just completely boarded up. I would say maybe as much as 10% of shops are just gone. We've always said that one of the reasons why, when we did our pricing video, one of the reasons why GW prices are so high is because they run stores and no other company does.
They have to pay for them. Yeah,
they have to pay for them. They have to pay overhead.
And it's a shit lot of shops as well for the size of the company.
The business rates are expensive. You've got to pay your staff, not a lot, but you've got to pay them. You've got to pay for the electric, all that kind of stuff. They don't get a lot. And
rent.
Yeah, as I said, business rates are very expensive.
No.
So I could see this, and I could see the shops more or less disappearing, and there just being a few shops. I think you're always going to want to keep a shop on London, Oxford Street.
I don't know. I don't think they'll go. I mean,
you know what I mean?
I'll be interested to see what the split is between people that go to shops and buy stuff like in person versus buying stuff online. I mean, obviously, people are going to, in general, buy more stuff online because they don't have to leave the house.
I mean, one of the big problems is that GW stores have stopped the games in the stores. Speaking as an ex-staff member who used to run a lot of games, the thing is, when you've got a nice, noisy, active store with a load of people playing games,
it makes people interested.
Gets
from
people
outside
to come in. It gets people to come in. So we'd have people. This is when I was working in Lakeside, Thurrock, and I'd be running a game, and it'd be noisy because there's loads of kids and some older guys and everything. We'd be having a lot of fun. I'd be running, and as a staff member, you it's the same as when you run an intro game. You need to make that game as exciting as possible. Like my training said, when that kid comes up and he has his first intro game of 40k, you have got to make that the most amazing thing in the world. He needs to go away and he needs to be, this is brilliant. And if you're lucky enough to have like sort of a teenager and he hasn't got his parents about, you make that game as gory and action-packed as possible. You're like, he fires his bolt and he hits that guy and he explodes. You want to hype these guys up. You'll be like, yeah, the actual fucking game doesn't matter. It's like we had a joke within the staff. 4+ to win. 4+ to win. You know, what do you need? I just roll follows and need 4+. But look, he goes, you do all that kind of stuff and you make it fun and you make it exciting and the kid goes, oh my God, I need all of this. This is brilliant. And every time I've been to a GW shop recently, there is, again, absolutely no fucking soul there.
No, it's just a rather bored-looking guy sitting there by himself. Just normally like, what can I help you with?
Normally on their phone these days. Obviously, when I was working at GW, there were no phones.
No mobile.
Oh, no, I'm actually saying this predated the modern mobile phone.
Yeah. I mean, they were around.
Mobile phones they were, but like business.
But
I got my first mobile phone. And it was like it had Snake on it.
Yeah, that was about it. Like I had my first mobile phone in 1996, 7 maybe, depending on when I started driving.
98 through to 2000.
So yeah, I mean we had phones, but there was no color screens. The screens were not big, and it was just this is for phoning people and messaging. And there was like a bit of Snake, if that.
There's no internet. This is when WAP meant wireless access protocol, not wet ass pussy.
Whoa.
Go fuck yourself, Cardi B.
Fortunately, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
She did a song called Wet Ass Pussy where she goes on about how it's just disgusting. It made the charts and everything, mate. I can't believe
that's a weird name for a song. Cats don't like getting wet.
Right. Anyway, so yes, GW shops have lost their soul. They're not exciting. There's nobody playing games. They're just set up to get people to come in and go, right, get into this massive money trap that's called Warhammer.
Yeah.
And every time I've gone past the Nottingham store, anytime I've gone into the Nottingham store, there has been, that's a big city like Nottingham.
Yeah.
So I could absolutely see them getting shot of Warhammer stores.
Although, do you think that the Nottingham Games Workshop store suffers for being right close to Warhammer World?
Potentially. It's still in the city. It's not the biggest city in the UK, but it's still a city. and it's not really out of the way. It's opposite a Forbidden Planet. It's
nice.
Just up the road from a few bits and pieces. I mean, there's a fair amount of footfall. It's just people just don't go in there. Again, if you're into the hobby, you don't need to go in there.
Yeah.
One thing, you've got an element store 2 streets away. For 2 things, everybody just buys shit online.
Yep. People
But
have got places to play.
Walker past her, there's just no reason. There's nothing to drag you in there. I mean, it used to be in the old days, don't get me wrong. When I worked as a staff member there, a lot of parents would just come in, dump their kids, and fuck off down the shops.
Which is fine.
It's not. I'm not a babysitter.
Yes, you are. But hopefully they pay for it when they come and pick their kid up. By buying stuff.
We had a minimum age you could leave them if they were under like 10 or something. You couldn't. It might have even been 12. I can't remember. It was like, no, you can't leave your fucking kids here. But like if provided of a certain age, we're like, yeah, sure. We take no responsibility. Yep. We're not looking after them, but they're here. They can play games.
Yeah.
They were busy.
Sorry, that's a minimum spend of £25 if you leave your child here.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Games Workshop stores are dead. They're
not
dead.
great.
There's
I mean,
nobody in them. I mean, you've got your ones that you go into. I can obviously only speak about Nottingham. Warhammer World is a different thing, so I'm not.
There's a few in Essex, like close to me, that I go into, and the staff in them are great. Like, they're fine. I'm not sure about.
But the thing is, the staff are people who want to be in the hobby and want to be there. So you've got that bonus. Yeah. They might not be good at their job. I can mention certain staff members who certainly are not good at their job and always on their phone, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But they're there.
I mean, some are good, some are not.
Are they busy? That's the thing. Are they busy?
No, they're not. But I think what also hampers this is the limits that Games Workshop put on their own products that you can use in the shop.
They do like beginners, not leagues, but like a program.
Okay.
I think where you go in and you buy a model and you paint the model and you play a couple of games with that model. But it is basically, it's a recruitment centre, is what a Games Workshop store is.
Yeah,
and
it shouldn't be.
If the Games Workshop
store
is not paying for itself, yeah, exactly. It should be a place to play games.
Yeah,
and
I mean, I didn't agree with them when they
for one staff member.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't agree with them when they limited stuff to you could only play games relating to what you could buy off the shelf. So if you wanted to go and get a game of Heresy back when it was all resin, then you couldn't do it because they said no, you can't play it. There's no money in it for us because you're not going to buy anything for it while you're here.
Yeah, it's just I can see this being true. We've spent a lot of time on this point. I can see this being true. As an ex-staff member who the shops were heaving, absolutely fucking heaving. Every time I've gone to a GW shop in the last, I don't know, Christ knows how long, since like before lockdown, it's dead.
It's been very much not heaving.
Nobody in them.
I mean, I don't think COVID.
Whether or not it's the rebrand or not, I don't know. It's just a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great rebrand, but I don't think COVID had too much to do with it because Games Workshop probably made a lot more money then than they did when there was no COVID and people went into their shops anyway.
They did, but it was all online.
Well, yeah,
basically, it was all. Wayland could not keep up with stock.
Yeah, but that literally covers the cost of any of their shops and then some. So
yes, but again, don't forget all these different elements of Games Workshop have different cost factors and cost codes. Yeah, I could see them getting rid of the stores. A lot of it's going to be Chinese whispers and stuff like that. We don't know where this has come from. I would say that some of this ties into some things that I've heard. Some of this ties into some stuff that I've seen. Some of it seems unlikely, but I can see the source of it.
Some of it seems highly probable.
As I say, time will tell. At the end of the day, as I said to somebody today, you can always play with your old stuff. You've always got your old rule books. You've got the models. GW has not put something into them where they press a button and they self-destruct.
Yeah. It's the same principle as when people do a remake like The Crow. The trailer for the remake of The Crow dropped and everyone was like, oh my God, please leave it alone. And I'm like, the studio who's making the film they don't send a guy to destroy your copy of The Crow. You've still got the original film. Stop fucking moaning about it.
Matthew, is that a very benevolent, subtle plug for my new channel that I launched, reviewing films, where I've just reviewed The Crow 1994?
Perhaps it might have been.
I wasn't even going to mention it, but I'll tell you what, I have just launched my own movie review channel called Critic Al Reviews.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. I'll chuck a link in the description unless I forget. Wouldn't that be awful if the only link that I've ever managed to put in the description is one plugging my new channel?
That's enough plugging.
All these other people, I'm just like, sorry, Goobertown Hobbies, I forgot. Sorry, Play on Tabletop, I forgot. But my own channel.
Oh yeah,
fuck's sake.
That's different.
Now I can't possibly. But no, anyway, we've discussed these
too much plugging
to death. that's an hour and a half talking over a screen of.
It was only supposed to be
stuff.
a quick one. I was like, I'll do this and then I'll have a nap. And now I'm like, I don't even know if I've got time for a nap now.
Yeah, well, we got a bit carried away. I'll probably edit some of it out. But
a nap.
Yeah, thanks for joining us yet again. Let us know what you think down below, because this is, I mean, whether or not you stock in all of it, that's a lot of stuff. And what it points to overall for me is massive upheavals within GW, which would tie into what we've seen recently, which is the production problems, a lot of moving about, a lot of problems with releasing stuff on time and all that kind of thing. So yeah, overall, while we've picked apart various bits and pieces, I find it scarily plausible. I'm gonna have to see how it goes going forward. But yep, comment, like, share, subscribe, share again. Get us to 5% maximum power. That'd be nice. 5% maximum.
Yeah, Alan, stop talking and get this video up so we can get another 2 subscribers so that we've got more.
Two more than the 20 we lost off of this video. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, we'll catch you later, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheerio.